Himalayan Masters. Welcome to our English Swadyaya session. We are in season 10 and we've been past weeks and today we'll be covering on Living with the Himalayan Masters by Swami Rama. And today we have four of us to share our knowledge and wisdom on the section that we have read. We have Master Thila, Master Rekha, Master Rajeshwari, and myself, Master Pathma. And to those who doesn't know about this book, actually, it's a wonderful book to read. This book here, Living with the Himalayan Masters, actually, I would say it's an autobiography of Swami Rama. It talks about his journey, from a small child till toward his, I believe, further in life. But currently, we have covered from his childhood until his adulthood. And we've been here in this chapter. We learned about his experiences uh, among other enlightened masters, other swamis, and the lesson he learned. And it's still going on. He's still meeting a lot of masters and a lot of enlightened gurus here. And so I would really highly recommend all our participants here to read this book. And yet our Swadhyaya will be like a supplementary for you. Okay, masters, without any further delay, let me invite Master Thila to cover section A.
Thank you, Pathma. I'm sorry, my video is not that clear today because I'm sitting in a different place. Apologies for that, yeah. Okay, I'm going to cover 4 chapters. The first one is the miserable experiment. So in this miserable experiment, what happened is, one moment, I just get it. Swami Rama know about a guy who's actually a gardener. He goes around mowing the lawn, cutting the leaves, and then collecting the leaves and selling, and then getting some money, and that's how he ran his family. So this guy was observing Swami Rama. So he sees Swami Rama gets everything free of charge. People come and see him. They always give him things, give him money, and then he stays freely in a cottage. And if the drivers come and take him, all the things. You see all these things. And then he said, okay, let me do an experiment. So he tells his wife, for the next 6 months, I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to live like a Swami. The wife says, no, you shouldn't, what you're doing now is the correct thing. You are getting money so that you can run the family. Say, no, I want to do the experiment. Let me do. And then he said, what about, if you are not working for 6 months, what are we going to do? He said, don't worry, I will get money. When I get the money, I will pass the money to you. So he goes off, he saves some money, he buys the garb as a Swami, and then he started pretending to be a Swami. The first 3 days, nobody was looking at him. Nobody gave him any food, nothing, And then he sees Swami Rama getting lots of fruits. And so what Swami Rama does is whatever he gets, he will share it among the people who are there. So here he sees somebody, and here this guy is not getting anything. So he becomes hungry. He becomes, after 1 week, he lost so much weight. And then his wife also, at night, he goes and visits his wife. And the wife gets so angry with him. He said, see, but we got no money. We have to run the family and all those things. So he said, okay, let me go and find out what is the secret behind Swami Rama's success. So he goes, one night he goes there, wait for Swami Rama to be alone. And then he asks Swami Rama, what is your success? And Swami Rama asked him, what is my success? He said, no, people are giving you a place to stay, people are coming and picking you up, you have a driver, everything. And his Swami Rama says, when I went, this is the word he says, when I wanted such things, they never came to me. But the day I decided I didn't want them, I began getting them. That's what he says, So here Swami Vivekananda says in a very beautiful word, he says, fortune is like a flirt. She will run away from you when you want her. But if you're not interested in her, she will come chasing you. So that is a beautiful message, takeaway message for all of us actually. So the next chapter is the charms of the world. Here he talks about a young man who wanted to be a Swami and get all the, gifts of being a Swami. We all believe that Swami are the people who gets everything, the richness come to them, everything is given to them freely and all those things. Actually, if we go through the Swami Rama's life itself, we know how much hardship and pain that he went through to become enlightened person. Okay, so here, so this guy, is an educated guy, educated young man. So he gets he goes to see Swami Rama. So when he sees Swami Rama, the first thing that he noticed is that very expensive, I think Omega watch, he was selling Omega watch that was given to him by Swami Rama student. So his eyes went there, he was more into material things and he was observing what he's getting and all those things. So every time when they're talking about, every time that Swami Rama and he converse, he always mentioned about the watch. And then Swami Rama knew that he was so attached to that watch. So one day he said, okay, today I'm going off, so I'm going to leave this watch with you. Take care of the watch until I come. And he goes off somewhere. And and he knew for sure that this guy, when he comes back, will not be there together with his watch. So as exactly as he predicted, when he came back, the watch was not there and the guy was not there. And after some time, he meets this guy at the railroad. And this guy was so embarrassed to see Swami Rama, but Swami Rama didn't have anything towards him, And then he was talking about it, and then he asked him what happened to the watch. He said, I needed the money, so I sold it off. So you see, the fate is so beautiful it's like intertwined. The watch was actually bought by a student of Swami Rama, and the same watch came back to Swami Rama. So it came back to him. So the next time when the student went to see Swami Rama, he gave this watch to him. He said, and he said, why are you giving this to me? He said, I think you needed this more than me. And then only this guy understood the non-detachment that he had towards the material thing. And this guy went into an ashram that is suggested by Swami Rama, and he became a true Swami. So here, what Swami Rama is telling is, so we are unable to face certain things in our life. We are not. We are. In this world, in this life, there are so many things that we are unable to face. But with this meditation, with this Swadyaya, and with the Sadhana Sangatya, we all can understand why is it happening to us. From there we can actually feel some kind of relief. So a lot of things that happens in our life are happening for a purpose. Today I was discussing this with one of the senior master, and she was telling me, she said, everything that is happening to you is taking you one step towards ascension. So bear it. So that is my advice to all of you. Bear it. Okay, the other next chapter is two naked renunciates. So these two people are very famous because they don't wear any clothes, and it was a very cold area, and both of them had a cottage next to each other. But one thing, even though they renunciate means they let go everything, but they were jealous of each other. So one day what happened was, during the summer, I think they took the straw mat and they put outside to on the sun. And Swami Rama was passing by at that time, and he practically saw these two naked Swami wrestling with each other. So, so this, so the Swami Rama asked them, why are you fighting? He said, that guy who stepped on my leg, who is it to step on my mattress? He asked like that. So, so Swami Rama understood that these guys, they were actually, they let go of everything. Okay, they're supposed to be renunciates, let go of everything, but they still have attachment to the mattress, and they still have this ego. So what here he's telling is, letting go of everything. Being a renunciate is not, it cannot easily renounce the lust for name and fame. Most of us cannot easily renounce the lust for name and fame. So this part, this PMC, PSM, is actually the middle part. We don't have to let go of anything. We have that. We enjoy whatever we are having. At the same time, we enjoy the life of this meditation. Okay, and then the last chapter that I'm going to cover is the world and yet above. And everybody here, Swami Rama says, everybody thinks for Swami's um, living a wonderful life. He said it doesn't. We all, nobody knows what they are going through. You know, Swamis are actually not given time to relax. They are actually people go and see them. Okay, you must come for this. You must come for this. You must bless these people. You must save me. You must save my children. You must heal my sickness and all those things. This is what happening. He says, you know. So here Swami Rama talks about his own life. He says that there are no time. People are not giving any peace of mind. You know, every time when he's alone, people want to come and talk to him and all those things. So here he talks about an incident where he has to walk 20 miles without rest, and then he was actually looking for a place to rest at one area, and the villagers they all started coming and with all their all their instruments, started playing bhajans and all those things. He said, and then he says, I need a rest. He said, no, we need to sing bhajan with you. So what he actually did is he actually learned to sleep while listening to the bhajan. He said, when they are closing their eyes to listen to bhajan, here I'm closing my eyes to have the sleep. So here what he's telling is, decide that no matter what happens, you will do what you set out to be. And today this is what my team were talking, no matter what, no matter what happens, we have decided what is our intention to have this soon, and we are setting out to do what we intend to do. That is to learn from each other. So with that, over to you, Pathma. To the next person. I think it's Shashi Rekha, right?
Yeah, Master Shashi Rekha. Master Shashi Rekha.
My humble pranam to Damha Patriji and Sonamala Patriji. Okay, my topic, my chapter is to lose is to gain. The story is about one Swami. Actually, a very disciplined person. He will have his routine. Early morning, he will wake up, and then you have a few hours meditation. You take bath. Everything is seriously a very disciplined person. Then one day, what happened? Suddenly, one day he wake up early morning and he was hungry. So he asked his followers to do prepare the food for him. So it was so people was the follower was so surprised. How come you do like that? Because normally it's a bathing time, something like that. So then he just prepared the food, and then he go and take bath, and then again he go and sleep. So his wife and all the people around him was surprised. Maybe he got crazy or any problem with him. So then the doctor came and just as a follower, then they asked, they check his heartbeat, everything is decreasing. So it was like maybe you will won't live so long, maybe you will die. He just said, the doctor just say like that. Then what happened? Then Swami Rama went there. What actually was the problem? And then he say, I'm in sorrow because my parents already passed away and died. Then Swami Rama was surprised. How come? Because you're not attached. You suppose you don't have attachment, is it? Then how this thing happened to you? He said, my mother is attachment, my father is anger. So this two is already away from me. So now I'm free from that. So it's my meditation is nature in my life already. So this is the message you want to tell, that he not like he have nothing to do. This is the first chapter. Okay, then just I read this thing. Meditation will become your very nature when you give up attachment, anger, and pride. Then you will not have to pose for meditation for your whole life. will be sort of meditation. This is the main message Swami Rama want to tell. Okay, the second chapter is about various part of enlightenment. Hold on. Okay, the chapter is a re-own lady's sake. Okay, they have one lady, his name is Andanamai Ma. She is very spiritual lady. She will go on a privilege with his husband. Even though they travel together, but they don't have a usual relationship as a husband-wife. So they totally dedicated to the Lord. So they were both in 40. So one day they met Swami Rama together because they used to have a meeting and then chanting, something like that. So one day what happened, the group was chanting, but Swami Rama just observing. So one of the followers came to him and asked, why are you not doing like us? Then he say, I just observe because he just give one example, like the horse pulling the thing. It's not like give something happiness for them. Who sit on the horse is something like it's more better, is it? So he just feel like that. So he just want to observe. So that's the thing. And then there are many parts of enlightenment in yoga. 6 main parts. Okay, I just go through because with the chapter. Okay, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is part of devotion. Is one of the devotional expression. Bhakti Yoga is based on self-sacrifice, reverence, and compassion. In the path of humility, gentleness, purity, simplicity, and sincerity are the main important thing in Bhakti Yoga. So many of these parts start flowing tears when they hear talk of God. Okay, this is the main, because some of them when they're chanting also they can hear talk of God. Okay, the second is Jnana Yoga. It's a part of knowledge. Okay, it's more to intellect, but this study involved not merely to cognitive intellect, but rather than intellect which has been sharpened by listening attentively to the sayings of the great sages. Okay, so another one is great sages as they taught by competent teacher, and then contemplating on this saying to finally attain a state of freedom. Okay, the third one is Karma Yoga. It's the part followed by those who believe in doing duties selflessly. This experience understood that all the fruits of one action should be surrendered to God, who dwell in everyone's hearts. Selfless action performs skillfully liberate on one from the bondage created by the fruits therein. Okay. Another one is Kundalini Yoga. Is one of the aspects of yoga which practiced by those who understand a great deal about the body, the nervous system, and the various channels of energy in human body. This special discipline that help the aspirant to control their bodily function and internal states are essential. Okay. Another one is Raja Yoga. Is a part of systematic discipline which leads the student upward along the 8th rung ladder to a state called Samadhi, or union with the absolute reality. Okay, these are the yogas, 6 yogas. And then Anandamayi, she tell what there's not inferiority or superiority in this yoga. All is same. Depends on the people which suit for them. So we shouldn't say, oh, I'm the best, my way is best. No such thing. So the another one, the main is we surrender to Lord. So sure we will get an enlightenment. Okay, another one is with my heart on my palm and tears in my eyes. This is the main important point which tell by BBG. Her name is, they will call BBG. Okay, I tell you. BBG. She's staying in Himalaya, Dargah. She is a Sufism. Okay, one day Swami Rama went to see him, and then she will say, my son, and they have one night, she told to Swami Rama that very easy to meet God. Then Swami Rama asked, what is the way? She said, to be one with divine, one has simply to detach oneself from the mundane world and link with the beloved. This is the simple. It is so simple. Offer your soul to the Lord, and then there's nothing to be done or realized anymore. So this is the message which DBG told to Swami Rama. So then Swami Rama asked, what the proof you can give? He said, here is my heart on my palm and tears on my eyes. This the thing is very important. You can get the enlightenment. Okay. That's all. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Shasi. Sorry, Pathmaji.
Oh, no problem, Thila.
Okay. The next person I would like to introduce is Rajesh. Rajesh, are you here?
Yes. Hi, hi everyone. You can see me. Firstly, my humble pronounce to Pita Mahatma Patriji and Swarnamala Patriji. And thank you for the opportunity again. I'll start off with my chapter with Karma is the Maker. So this actually talks about, about both two parts. I think this time we are hearing about both the parts, renunciation and being a householder. Here he talked about a sage called Uriya Baba, who was very famous, for his learning and spiritual wisdom, and he lived in Brindavanam. So his master sent him to live with the sage. So a devotee of this Baba took him to the Vrindavanam. When he arrived, actually he saw thousands of people waiting for the darshan. But then he was asked by someone to guide him to take this, Swami Rama, to meet the Swami in his room. So he was considered one of the greatest scholar in North India. He had a large number of following all over India, but he was very, very kind and very generous to Swami Rama. So what Swami Rama was mentioning is, in the evening, he used to go, he stayed there with him for some time. And he said in the evening, he used to go to the banks of the Yamuna River for their evening ablutions. So one evening he asked him, is renouncing the world superior to living in the world? Which is the right path? Because he was not sure whether which is the right path. Then during these days, because at that time Swami Rama was also studying about karma and the cause and effect, and he also understood how difficult it is to get free from the cycle of karma. So the Baba, actually, this was also a good eye opener to me. The Baba told him, so it is not necessary for all human beings to renounce the world. So for the path of renunciation, as we can see, right, in all the stories, is very difficult to actually follow. So he said, it is not actually you have to renounce the objects of the world, but you don't, because he said one good thing, I think it was really because he said, as a human being, we do not possess anything. We actually, we came here with nothing, we will go with nothing. So we do not possess anything. Therefore, we cannot actually renounce anything because nothing we own. But therefore, he said, what we should do is we should not have the sense of possessiveness. So what we should renounce is the sense of possessiveness. So that was a good lesson for me. So another thing is also the Swami narrated that when you live in the world, I mean, inside the world or outside, it does not make much difference. The key is attachment to the worldly objects that actually brings misery. So if we say, if we practice, if you're a householder and you actually practice non-attachment faithfully, you can actually, and sincerely, you can actually obtain freedom from the bondage of karma. So that means if you have to renunciate your, your possessiveness, then you can become free of the karma and any misery. So he said, to do the purpose of life, you do want your duties as usual, but there shouldn't be any expectation of from the duties. But typically, all of us are human being. We always have some expectation, some form of expectation when we fulfill our duty. So what he was saying is the law of karma is actually applicable to everyone equally. Either you go through the path of renunciation or if you are a householder. But then he said the only thing is like what he say, you renounce your deep rooted, your conscious, right? Your bondage to certain thing, that is key. So he gave an example of a rope, right? If you see a rope and you burn the rope, but the rope is there, but the rope does not have the strength. So if it's just like that, so if we become non-attached, then it is it gives us freedom from our past karma. And another example that he gave was like coffee beans, right? It's like now a coffee beans, you can brew the coffee, you get nice fragrance from the coffee, but then you can't actually grow the coffee, cannot become a seed. It's a seed, but you can't grow, you can't use it to grow coffee. So in that case, that means it's already burned, your karma is burned, you are non-attached, that means you are free from the bondage of karma. So I thought that was a good analogy that they said. Another thing also, the Swami also mentioned to him, like, if you do your duty selflessly, sometimes this, you are ultimately you attain some power, and these powers are used to heal people. And then you can heal. There are three ways of healing. There's like, you can heal them physically, mentally, and spiritually. And people who have actually practiced this renounce, or they have no bondage, they have the power to heal, because they can heal from remotely, because they don't have any bondage. But then if you use your power, for if you use the power to heal, but if you use it to make it as a profession to earn money, apparently that the power actually reduces. So all this power is gained if you have got no expectation and if you're doing it selflessly. So that was the story about this thing. So he was saying that every human being has a potential for healing, but then this healing should just flow from our heart without any bondage or any expectation. Then there's an ability that we can actually heal people remotely. So that's about the chapter on karma is the maker. So the second chapter is in the ashram of Mahatma Gandhi. This is also very interesting because in the late 1930s and early 40s, Swami Rama had the opportunity to stay with Mahatma Gandhi in Varda Ashram, and where he actually met a lot of gentle and loving soul. So he said while he was there, he was really taken up by Mahatma Gandhi, because Mahatma Gandhi was serving a leper. So this leper was actually very frustrated, very angry, but he was a great scholar. But then Mahatma Gandhi actually served him every day with great care and love. So, I mean, he was really impressed with Mahatma Gandhi's characteristics. So and then he also told us that, the master told him that you observe Mahatma Gandhi when he's walking. So he used to observe him, and he realized that when he walked as though when Mahatma Gandhi was walking, he was walking as though he was separate from his body, He seemed to be like pulling his body as a cart. That means he was a man was he was walking in front, but he used to pull his body from the back. So that's how apparently probably the gurus all can see the way that's how Mahatma Gandhi used to walk. And another thing that they said that he was a man that he constantly prayed for others and never had any hatred for any religion, caste, creed, sex, or color. And he had three teachers that they were Christ, Krishna, and Buddha. So, and everyone knows, right? Mahatma Gandhi, he actually practiced ahimsa consciousness. That means is to love, the principle of everything non-violence, and he only advocated on love. So whatever trial that came to him, he thinks that through love you can quench anything. And he said complete, that means your self-reliance, your fearfulness, everything can be conquered by just being non-violent and in showing of love. So when he was there, actually was staying with Gandhi, he noted a few principles in his diary, and then I think in total there were like 10 principles. So the first principle, he said non-violence and cowardice cannot go together. So because he said if non-violence, that means if a person has got an instrument, that means he has fear. He probably outwardly looks brave, but he is having something to defend him because he is fearful. So he said if you want to practice non-violence, you shouldn't be a coward. Actually, people who are practicing non-violence, they are actually very brave. So that is one of the power of ahimsa, and is an extremely vital force that actually gives you the power of physical strength. The second one, he said, a true follower of ahimsa does not believe in disappointment. So he only dwells in perennial happiness and peace. So, and the peace and joy do not come to whoever is proud in intellect or learning. They come to people who has full faith and who has got single-mindedness and undivided focus. So you have got faith and undivided focus. You don't have to be intellectual and you don't have to be very proud. That means you can live this kind of ahimsa lifestyle. The third one, he said, the intellect can produce many wonders, but non-violence is a matter of the heart, and it does not come through intellectual practices. So you can be very intellectual, but if you are violent, it does not actually benefit anyone. And then the fourth, he said, hatred is not overcome by hatred, and actually hatred is overcome by love. So he said that's a law. That means if someone hates you, you actually can overcome only this by love, but it's sometimes very difficult to practice. The other one, he said, devotion is not just mere worship from the lips. It is a self-surrender with mind, action, and speech. That means three of those things has to be aligned to actually show complete devotion. And then the sixth one is Gandhi did not believe in the barriers created by religions, culture, superstitions, and mistrust. He thought and lived that brotherhood of all religions. For him, everybody was equal. Everybody was like a brother or sister to him. And the other thing is Gandhi believed in the art of living without concern of the fruit of one's action. That means he said you should, do your duty, but you're not supposed to be worried about success or failure, but just pay good detailed attention on the work that you're doing, but not expecting anything, don't bother about the outcome. And then on the eighth principle, he was saying that in order to enjoy life, I think that is what we are covering about most of the time. He said we should not be selfishly attached to anything. So non-attachment means that we have a pure motive and then we can live actually joyfully. And then 9, he said, is yoga is a complete reintegration of the state of mind, intellect, sense, emotion, instincts, and every level of personality. So it is a process of becoming a whole human being. And then the last thing that he noted was one's mantra becomes one's staff of life and carries one through each ordeal. So sometimes you have your own personal mantra, and the repetition of it, gives you a new meaning and carries you nearer and nearer to God. So sometimes it is also capable of transforming any negative personality or negative situation you have into positive situation when you have undivided and opposing thought deeper and deeper level into your consciousness. So that is where he learned being with Gandhi, and he met a lot of striking personalities like Gandhi's son, his wife, and he became very friendly to one of Gandhi's son is Ramadas. The other chapter is Not Sacrifice but Conquest, is by Tagore. So this is when he was a teenager, he often traveled with his brother disciple called Dandi Swami. And this Dandi Swami was about 20 years older than Swami Rama. So they went to a journey to, I think it's called Mussoorie, a holiday resort in the foot of Himalayas. There, they stopped in a small town called Rajpur, and during these days, Tagore, a famous poet from the east, was staying in the cottage. So the brother disciple actually knew this famous poet from Bengal and his family well, so they went to visit him. So Tagore then asked him, invited him to stay, and they sent him to, they call it that Shantiniketan, the educational institution where he had founded. So this Tagore, like they call him Tagore, he was a famous poet. He established what he called education institution, and where hundreds of students lived and studied there. So this is called the Shantiniketan. So and this Tagore, this man from Bengal, was known as the Guru Deva by the students in this place called the Shantiniketan. And he was a very gifted poet. He used to do poetry, he used to do painting, he had literature, he was very handsome, and he was very well known to the world. So when Swami Rama lived with him, he observed his devotion to his work. He realized this Guru Deva was always engaged in his daily practice. He was very busy writing or painting, and he actually spent only very few hours of sleep. So he will always look up to him, and he said, if all this object of sadhakas of the world is somewhat like God-like, so he was saying that this man was actually gifted, and he knew how to actually conquest that. So this he asked the Swami, actually, what are you doing? He said, sometimes you don't really have to sacrifice, you have to take charge. That means if you have passion or something, you really do it with deep heartedness. That actually gives you a liberation by detachment from the world. So that's why he said humanity, there were three kinds of great men. First, there are people who are gifted with greatness by birth. Second, those people who are attained greatness by sincere and selfless effort. And third, those unfortunate ones whom greatness is thrust by press and publicity. So he said this Guru Deva Tagore was in the first category. He was gifted and highly talented poet and very genius, but he lived and practiced. He said you enjoy what you are doing, but you don't covet of any wealth of anyone. That means you are able to enjoy what you do well, but you don't have to be jealous of someone else. So that itself is like, you don't have to sacrifice. That means you can conquer based on what you do. So he was also very universal, a complete human being, and he was a living embodiment of a human being. And he also admired people from the east and west, and he didn't want the westerners to become easterners. He thought both of them actually could join hands and share what best they had. That was his principle. So Swami Rama, with him, he just understood what are the philosophies that this man had, what everybody should strive to live about. So that's what he said about Swami Guru Deva Tagore. And he said he just took out some example of his poem, that he got verses from his poem that he actually took from him, and he kept, that actually resonated very well with him. So he was impressed by this Guru Deva. So finally is not finally, the other chapter is Setting History Said. He said when he was about 20 years of age, he traveled to Simla, one of the holiday resorts in Punjab Himalayas. There he met a Swami who called them Punjabi Maharaj. So again, this Swami was very tall, healthy, handsome and learned man. So, and this Swami actually, and then when he was walking with this Swami, he had Swami Rama had an umbrella in the hand. So this Swami said, "Why are you carrying an umbrella?" He said, "Okay, I need the umbrella. If it rains, our clothes will get wet." Then he said, why are you worried about your clothes getting wet? If you're worried about your clothes getting wet, then remove your clothes. Or if you're worried about not getting wet in the rain, then just don't come in the rain, get a shelter. So then Swami and Rama then thought, okay, that's true. So when they were walking, so what he did, he left his umbrella and then he started walking in the rain. Then he enjoyed, because he said when the rain comes, it's just between the, what I thought, that one of the thing he said that about the rain is you have to, like, you actually have to experience something that is coming up from there. It's just like connection to you with the earth. So he said you just walk in the rain. But this Swami, right, that he met, actually he was a very learned man and he only spoke English. So he actually got his I think degree from Oxford. But the only thing about this Swami was he actually he detested the British ruling India. So during the time of India's independence, so he was, some Swamis went through the different range, right? They were meditating and all that. These Swamis, they thought that they would not practice meditation, but they wanted to make sure, they want to be rebellious because they didn't want to actually make sure that India overthrew India, Britain ruling India. So he always encouraged Swami Rama to join into politics because he didn't want the Indians, I mean the British people, to take over India. So he was really very disappointed because he said that the British people, they came in, they took away our culture, they took away things from India, and then they were actually encouraging people to convert. So this Swami, he was very rebellious, and then but Swami Rama and his master told him that do not worry, because the master even predicted when India will gain independence. He said that was not Swami Rama's path. So anyway, Swami Rama followed this guy for some time, but then each time, sometimes this Swami will be arrested and all that. And one day, after a few months, they actually parted their ways, because Swami Rama had a different path. This Swami had a different path. And finally, one day he heard that this Swami was actually shot and he died. What he was trying to say is, there were, and after that, during his stay in Simla as well, a British missionary who was writing a book became close to Swami Rama. And then he actually showed Swami Rama what he actually wrote. And but Swami Rama was actually surprised, because what he wrote was actually not true about all the Indian culture and the civilization. So Swami Rama, he said that he didn't hate what he wrote, but he said there were numerous lies about how they wrote about India, the culture, civilization, and policies. So he was said that although he didn't mind Christianity, he liked the Christian, the Bible, and all that, but he was thinking the missionary used that to actually divide and rule. So there were a lot of lies. He said until up to today, actually, if you read it, it's very disappointing. He said many of the Westerners, they actually didn't understand the proper culture and philosophy in India, and they have actually written numerous lies about India. And actually, initially, India was a country really rich with culture, civilization, and a lot of wealth. But all these people actually came to India and they took away the wealth. So now they're asking, how come, India is very spiritual, but it's very poor? But all these people actually came and robbed India of all the economy that they had. Apparently, India once was called a golden bird because it had lots of precious jewels, gold, and other riches. But these people, like, the British, the Portuguese, and all that, invaded India and took away all these for their own country and benefit. So he said, till today, many travelers do not really understand the true Indian history, because all these are written by Westerners and they had numerous lies covered in the book. He only recited a very few books that is actually reflects the true situation of India. So he said culture and civilization are two different things. So a man can be considered cultured if he dresses nicely and then presents himself well before others, but that does not make him civilized. Sometimes civilization refers to way a nation thinks and development of ideals such as non-killing, compassionate, sincerity, and faithfulness. So culture is external way. Civilization is something that we do internally. So he said culture is like a flower, and civilization is like the fragrance of the flower. So I think that was also one of the key takeaway that I got it. So currently, India actually has got both strong culture, and India's civilization is very rich. But now with the pseudo English culture, a lot of problems has been created in India. So, and then the last chapter is also something that is close to my heart, that is about Maharshi Raman. It's previously we called Ramana Maharishi. So he said after visiting, he was also asked by the Swami to go to, he met a prominent physician who wrote to him to see him at Nasik, where he was living. After visiting and the reason for coming, this physician actually took him to Arunachala, Arunachalam in South India, to have a darshan with Maharshi Raman. This is, they call it Ramana Maharishi. So he went there and he saw when they were actually in the presence there were a lot of disciples, they were chanting and all that. But this is one of the sage, he said, you just have to sit with him. He is very silent, but you being with him and you are also observing silence, whenever you observe silence and meditate, all your answers comes immediately to you, because the presence of this person who's very, very powerful. So he stayed there 5 days in this very spiritual and vibrant atmosphere, Arunachala, and really realized that, for a renunciate like himself, leading a burdensome life can be boring, but his visit, he added fuel, because he saw all these guru, they are very silent, they don't do anything, but actually they are inspiration to a lot of people. They didn't do anything, you were silent, but by us sitting with them, you can get sort of immediate answer because of the strength of their inspiration and enlightenment. So that's the final chapter. I know, Masma, Padma, we have 7 minutes.
No worries, Rajesh. I think Master Pathma can cover 2 chapters.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. Actually, to be frank, Tilama, I was what I read today. For me it was like I'm reading Hindu Shastras. Hinduism's all, they give a lot of details in the sections that I was covering. Dvaitya, Advaitya, and then Sri Vidya and Tantric. Even in the Tantric has 3 division. When I was reading that, honestly, to be blunt honest, I couldn't understand. I was like, what am I reading? So many details. It's for me. It was like reading a calculus equation. How am I going to explain this to the participants? I was having this thing running in my mind. Then while I was meditating, I just meditated. I convey my intention. I said, every time I do that before my session, right? So I just conveyed my worries to universe. I just said, it's too deep and it's too heavy for me to talk about. What am I supposed to do? Please convey the message through me. Don't let me talk gibberish. And it so happened, the time is now, it's like so short for me. And the universe, like, you don't go detail, just summarize everything. And enough, let them read. Okay. After Swami Rama went to Ramana Maharishi, his ashram, and of course his quest is continued. He went to Sri Aurobindo ashram in Pondicherry. In there, what he experienced, I can't go in detail about the philosophy of integral non-dualism, because actually it's something that we really have to go through, because I'm not in a position to explain about it. What he experiences, whatever teaching that Sri Aurobindo and his ashramam they were preaching, is something very convenient and suitable for the devotees, or for the people of living at that point of time with modern mindset. And in the next chapter we can see, actually the chapter after that, they talk about a lot of rishis that came up with their own understanding, the name like from the Veda. So before I used to think, this kind of Advaityam, Advaityam, maybe it just bestowed upon us by the God. But now after reading this, I understood that it when it they were like aspirants like us, then they evolved, and when they become enlightened masters, they wanted to teach the people after them, what they understood and how they gained that knowledge, and from the knowledge that they gain, how they can attain enlightenment. Those are the sharings that became Dvaityam, Advaityam. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not actually talking on behalf of anyone. It's just my personal opinion. Like, it's their experience, their knowledge that they want to send it down to people, normal laymen like us. So it came with a lot of sect. And here he talks about Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, where I believe Swami Brahmananda Saraswati was a worshipper of divine goddess Shakta, Shakti follower. So here they talks about Saundarya Lahari, Ananda Lagari. I've heard of all this thing because I've done this Sri Chakras worship and everything. I've heard all these things. So when we humans, not now, even I think the start of our human existence, we were already in the quest of looking for answers. Who am I? Why I've born? What is the purpose of my birth? So when they were looking for all these answers, the form of answers that they got, it became their sect, the sect that they follow. For like this one is the one they follow, Vedant and Buddhism, Hinduism, even Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism. It's all in a way, you can see some form of connection, even though we find it's a different religion. It's in a way, it talks about how we human try to find the meaning of our real purpose, the birth, why we are here. When the question arises, that's when this kind of sect and religion and everything came upon. And here then after that, Swami Rama, guru, sent him to learn tantra also. See, Swami Rama never leave any stone unturned. So in every possible way, it's he's like in a spiritual excursion. It's a field trip for him. He goes in every school, spiritual school, every sect of religion, and tantra, yantra, mantra, everything you want to experience before he settled down in one. Like, what his master said earlier, whatever you learn, book knowledge is good, but experiencing it in life, it what makes it more real. So here he went to learn tantra from a one tantric teacher who's 102 years old, and from South India, Malabar. So here he talks about three different sect of tantra. There is a left, there is middle, and then there is a right. And for to understand this, participants need to read it on their own, because it's quite detailed in here. They say Kaula is left-handed tantric, and then there is another one is Mishra, is combination of both left and right division of the tantra teaching. And then the final one is Samaya, it's the right path. And how they incorporate this tantra with the Vedant also, it's written in there. And then the next is the seventh system of Eastern philosophy. Our Swami Rama met a Dr. Rana, a philosophist, Vedanta philosophist. And here what this Dr. Ranade is he says is our whole Vedanta, in Indian philosophy, it's within this seven system, this seven question. And it's quite long question. Since we ran out of time, I would highly recommend to participants to read this question. When I was reading it, actually I was inhaling those questions. I was trying to try to understand what this question is really why he meant the entire Indian philosophy. It's within this 7 question. It's very, very deep. So I can't simply say, it will be for me like it's just reading what's written. So I want participants to read this and to actually feel those questions. That's what will encourage, for you to read the rest. And also another way of me escaping.
No, you're not excused, my dear. Next week we're going to cover the
Yeah.
same chapter.
Yeah, I'm actually, Thilama, I've read it few times. I still couldn't understand.
So I think you'll be the best person to cover this chapter because you've read it a few times. Okay.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
to read more to actually understand that.
Okay, dear.
Master Padma, no, I think this is also one thing that I also realized that previously when I read one glance, two glance, I'll be able to absorb. But this time when I'm reading, it probably goes into deeper a bit. It takes me a while, and I thought it was also me. I read once, twice, then I thought, okay, no, I mean, some chapters were easy, but not some chapters. Probably you're right. You have to reflect.
Agree, Rajesh, because the story is
yeah.
going very jovial, right? Swami
Yes,
Rama's
yeah.
happy go, lucky kind of life.
Yes,
But
yes,
it has a very deep philosophy and very deep truth in it. So for us to
yes,
for us to comprehend that, we need to be at least in that state of mind or in his shoe. If not, to meditate more to get the answer.
true. Yeah, I understand how you feel, but although my chapters, not all were like that, but some of the chapters were like that. When I was about the poet and all that, I had to read a few times to actually, to glance through. It couldn't, was not as easy about. Probably we are also going through for our own involvement, right? Challenges.
Yeah. So, but this section is about humans, the entire human civilization's enlightenment quest, and
Exactly.
human Hinduism's centuries of enlightenment knowledge. So
True.
it's very deep. It's very deep.
Yeah, and they have got so many systems and knowledge, right? It's not, yeah.
I thank God for universe and our Brahma Shri Pitamaha Patriji to make it so simple. He simplified it in such a way that you just observe your breath, be compassionate, and just observe, go within. If I have to read all this thing like Swami Rama, I think I wouldn't even last. Two things would have happened. I would have given up very easily, or I would have gone cuckoo. So I really thank this is the not a sect. I would say this is a way of life for those who want to attain enlightenment, at least, or to find the meaning of ourselves, to go to within. This is the easiest, the fastest, and the most natural path that we are in.
Thank you, Pathmati. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Shashi Rekha. Shall we open for question? Anyone has any question? Please feel free to raise your hand. I'll unmute you. I like the way you explain, that, when people understand a truth and then they became a sect. Simply put, very simply put. So I was actually watching a movie the other day, and that movie talks about how baptism came about. So this guy was actually, he had the golden scroll that was given to him by Jesus himself, and then the way that he interpreted the thing with the help of the energy, he says, and then that's where the baptism came about. Quite interesting story.
Interesting.
Any questions?
Even in this one, Thilama, Buddhism also, what they mention is, it's the middle path, it seems. I find, it's my personal opinion. Compared to what we are living now, I find, to those who's following, no, I can't say that. To those, if I see in a way, from my filter, from my view, Buddhism is middle path for the monks, probably. For the normal layman, what we are living now, it's very apt to say middle path.
Yeah, we are following the middle path, right?
Yes, but
Yeah,
in the section I was covering, It's mentioned that what Buddhism, Buddha taught, the Buddhism is the middle path.
Yeah.
But probably it's evolved to more easier middle path now. You know, those days
Yeah.
women are not allowed in the sanghas.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
and
it's the other way around, yeah. I won't say the other way around. I mean, we have all the freedom.
Yes, we have all the freedom.
Yeah. March 8th is supposed to be the Women's Day.
Mm.
So we're just doing some kind of celebration.
International Women's Day, right? March
International
8th.
Women's Day, yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no questions, shall we, I mean, in the session, we have another session going on in Tamil. So whoever free, please do go and join them. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us and have a blissful weekend and enjoy yourself. I'll see you all soon again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master.
Bye.
Thila recording.
Master.